Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is one of those times of the week where we have a guest join us. He is the best college football writer in America. Check him out at Channel 6 and other places. Spencer Hall, what's going on?
What's going on, sir? There's nothing happening. I mean, I don't know why you would have me on at this point on December 2nd.
Hey, look, man, we got to hurry up and get this done so we can go watch this Diddy movie that 50 made. I don't have any shame in admitting. I can't wait. And it's all these people who are like, yeah, well, he just doing this because he don't like Diddy. The only reason I'm watching is because I don't like Diddy. We all
have appointment viewing. You have that. I have to go to Zach Fox's TikTok account and just see how many times he's retweeted Kevin Gates singing "Beefing with My Chick" while I'm in jail. I don't know if you know this.
No,
he's retweeted it like 50 times in different variations, and I can't stop hearing Kevin Gates in my head. So we both have. We should get to this because we both have things to do after this.
Yeah. I just want to say this one thing about 50 Cent is for all the terrible things there are to say about him, and they are terrible. One thing the man is not is insincere. Right? Like, I watched him sit down in that interview with the director, and you know what he's thinking? I put this black woman on, and they sit there and they talking to Robert Roberts, and he takes that quiet tone and talks about the seriousness of the matter. And he was just like, look, man, I'm just telling y'all. The man asked me he asked me if I wanted to go shopping with him, and I knew what time it was. I knew he was trying to beat, and I ain't been cool with him ever since. So yeah, I'm making a movie about it.
You know, there's survival instincts you only get from surviving a violent shooting. And yes. I think that's one thing we've learned about 50 is that if he leaves the room, it's time for you to go too.
Yep. This is what it is. I was hanging out with somebody that some people on this show would be familiar with. He was with his girl, and he was talking about how they was somewhere in Atlanta, and he saw some dude walk in, and he was like, he's about to shoot up the place, let's go. And he got out, and that woman looked at him in front of us and said, and that was the day that I realized that there was something about you. Like, like she was 100% like, yeah, this the kind of man I need in my life. Just in case you're wondering what they love.
This gas station is no longer a safe space. We gotta go. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Lane Kiffin is now the coach at LSU. Right now that we're
that here, happened. That happened.
That did happen. He is there. I don't know about you, but I've heard not a word about candidate number 2 for this job. LSU decided that they wanted Lane. They talked about how they was never going to give out a contract like they gave out before. Not only are they giving him a contract like the one before, they're going to pay him bonuses. If Ole Miss were to win a national championship, Lane Kiffin's owed $1 million in his contract, and LSU is going to give him the $1 million. They have handed the keys over to him. And I don't think anybody has really properly stopped to ask the question, is this a good idea for LSU?
Well, first of all, let's congratulate Jeff Landry on some extreme politicianing, some extreme politician speak by being like, we're going to do contracts that are different. We're not going to do all this appeasement, and we're not going to just give coaches what they want. And then Lane rolled up and he's like, keys to the castle, baby.
Yes. For Lane.
Take them. For Lane, a guy who, if I may remind you, has won championships as an assistant and has won with Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
So we have, and yes, full credit to everything that happened at Ole Miss. That is the best run at Ole Miss history. He is the best coach in Ole Miss history. Do not throw John Vaught in my face. Not everyone was eligible to play those games. I didn't get to see the full capacity of those things. His name's on the stadium. Doesn't have to be on the statue outside. If they were going to build one, it would be from Lane. He is the only guy with an 11-win season there. 10, 11, and 10. Phenomenal run there. Maybe his best work. And I think what will be his best work, because I think this LSU gig is now completely complicated simply by how he came in and by the circumstances of the game as it exists now.
So the Ole Miss thing is interesting because it is the best run, and I made a mistake last show. I said that Lane did not have a big win at Ole Miss, and that's not true because they did beat Georgia last year.
Hey, listen, they beat Georgia.
Other than that, Big win for Lane ever, I believe, is the 2011 year against Oregon, where they pulled one out at the end of the year while they were somewhat in the throes of probation. Okay.
Yeah.
So, my bad. He has won 2 games worth discussing in the last 15 years. My fault. My fault. I owe you an apology, Lane. You got those 2. However, if you are lining up the best coaches in the SEC, just putting their names on the list, I'm not even necessarily saying where does he stand on the list. I'm asking you how many of those coaches can you definitively say Lane Kiffin is a better coach than insert name here? And buddy, I don't know, given that Mississippi State's coach is actually kind of sort of the shadow coach and the actual coach is actually a really good coach, bad guy. Who you got? I don't have anybody that I am positive in this conference that Lane Kiffin is a better coach than.
I'm a little higher on him than you are.
Okay, but I'm just
yeah.
tell me positively. Is he
So-
positively better than Beamer?
Then Beamer, yes.
Okay.
I
Is
will
he
take him.
positively better than Heupel?
No. No.
Is
And
he
I will say this too. I think Heupel's a better org guy. Like
Yeah.
given I think that is underrated, the gig that he has done at Tennessee and the culture that he has built. Because when was the last time, I'll make this brief, when was the last time you heard, man, Tennessee's got a problem player or Tennessee has a culture? Nope. That is a kumbaya group that gets results at a place that is harder to succeed at than people think. So yes, next.
All right. Is he positively better than Eli at Missouri?
Another underrated dude. I think overall, if I was giving you 1v1 game, Lane is a better play caller and he's going to be a tougher one-on-one matchup. If I'm extending this over, if I'm giving you a stock report, right? Here's your money. Take your portfolio to Eli Drinkwitz and Associates. I would give it to Drinkwitz just based on the steady performance at a place that, again, a little more difficult than people think.
Gotcha. But they're in the same neighborhood, and I'm just saying, ain't nobody going through all this shit for Eli Drinkwitz. That's all I'm saying. Like that's the thing I give him credit for. And you and I have talked about this for years with Lane. I do appreciate that he doesn't make offense more complicated than it has to be. Hey, we got a dude, and I'm gonna give him the ball every time if I can. Hey, it doesn't matter what position he plays. When it was Amari Cooper damn near won a Heisman. When it was Derrick Henry, he ran for 2,000 yards and he won a Heisman. If you're the guy, you're going to get the ball.
If he did this with Marquise Lee at USC, he did this with he did this with Jackson Dart. He did this with Trinidad Chambliss. Did not matter that he was a Ferris State transfer. Did not matter that he appeared to be an FCS player when he walked on the field. You go, wow, that guy looks a little small. Doesn't matter. You're going to touch the ball 53 times. It works. And he's going to do it. So he doesn't make it harder than it has to be. He puts players in a position to succeed, delegates much better than he used to. At USC, the story was that Lane would not delegate and Lane would not let anyone touch any controls on offense. He's a little bit better about that now, still calls plays, but very good about delegating and keeps it loose. Like that's as a program wide, keeps it loose. We're all we're talking around, we're outlining the elephant in the room, which is Lane. Which is that's it, right? Like every question we asked today, Bo, every question we asked today is going to be should work, but
Right.
That's it. There's kind of a mess there, and it's complicated now by there's a mess meeting a mess, and in the middle, they're going to try to build a football program together, and that's going to be the challenge here.
You're not going to convince me that the most attractive part of this job to Lane Kiffin was not the fact that it is fraught with drama. Like you're not going to. Now, one thing I will say though, he might it feels like bringing Ed back should be on the board, right? Like it should be at the top of the board, actually.
Bo, would that be drama? Would that be drama?
I feel like that would be a good time.
It'd be a good time, but that'd be dramatic, right? That'd be a story.
Dramatic.
So that means
dramatic.
That means they're going to do it.
That means it's going to happen.
I'm going to give everybody a blueprint here, okay? Oh man, would Ed come back even though he was the head coach? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Lane wants it to happen, so it's going to happen. They've handed him everything. Do you want? Oh, hey, would it be weird if Nick Saban were a consultant? What if Nick were just off over here and we just paid him to be over here? Wouldn't that be dramatic? Yeah, sure, they'll try to do it. Whatever you name, if it's going to be a good story and it's going to raise some eyebrows, Lane will do it, and LSU's just going to let him.
I just my I don't know if complaint is the right word, but as coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not quite Lincoln Riley in the sense of, hey, we got to play some defense too, right?
Yeah.
However, you got to play some defense too. Like I think, and look, you are, and I mean this in the positive way, Florida man.
Correct.
Don't like he while Spencer has the picture of Florida man, he does not have the internal composition and constitution of Florida man.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about, he's the spiritual successor to Spurrier. Like if there was a job that was a fit, that is the one, except it sounds like the AD of Florida was like, nah, I ain't working with this clown. What are you talking about? Like made it off the top was kind of like, look, I'm not really trying to do this. I got to take this call, but I'm not.
About that, the reason that did not happen, the primary reason, besides the chalk and cheese relationship between athletic director Scott Strickland and Lane Kiffin, did not get along. That was a factor from what I've heard. Additionally, Florida has a GM. We have GMs now. And now you have to do the NFL thing where you go, does the throne get along with the exchequer? Does the treasury get along with the presidency? Do the people doing the budgeting and the talent prospecting, are they on the same page with the coach? Right now, Florida has something which may be a problem for them. They have a GM who operates co-equally with the coach, and that is both report to the athletic director. At LSU, that will not be the case. Lane did not want that at Florida. He's going to take Ole Miss's personnel guy, who, to be fair, if you look at the number of people that they've prospected, that's probably one of the dudes who had a hand in getting Trinidad Chambliss. Probably one of the guys who built this roster that's filled with talented, skilled players who all can do exactly what they need them to do on offense, at least. That's what Lane gets there. So that's a factor as well.
Yeah. And so we'll just see what kind of defense they play.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's got to get a new defensive coordinator because Ole Miss is now in the hands of Pete Golding.
Whew, wait, hey. I told the people on the show on Monday that I saw a picture of him and it was him, and they said he was head coach. And I was like, oh, that man can't be the head coach, looking at that beard and everything else. And I was like, oh, but maybe it's just that picture. And then I went and looked up more pictures.
Nope. It just gets worse.
I can't believe that man's the head coach of anything. But I talked about this. I don't know if anybody's followed up on it. I'm curious your thoughts, but I don't think that what is discussed nearly enough about the Ole Miss part is the staggering leverage that all of those assistant coaches had in that moment as they are trying to hold together what this season is. You don't want to wind up like Florida State, where one thing went bad and you thought you were going to the playoff, and then nothing has been the same since everybody decided they wasn't going to do something, right?
Right.
Ole Miss, they got to hold it together. And I think a few of those guys are going to Ole Miss, to LSU. But some of those guys are going to stay because they have to, and they will be compensated handsomely for this.
They will, and they're going to get a nice 2 to 3 year run out of this, and we'll see how it goes. I don't think I've ever heard anyone saying Pete Golding was an obvious coaching candidate. Let's just remember that. It's not like, oh, up and coming assistant. You know who that would be? That'd be Will Stein. Will Stein just got the gig at Kentucky, former Louisville quarterback who was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. He is now in charge of reviving the Kentucky program. I think he's going to do that. He's very smart, very energetic. It'll be cool. No one ever said that about Pete Golding. Pete Golding, it was like Wizard of the Whiteboard. If you say Wizard of the Whiteboard, that means you don't necessarily want that guy in a press conference.
No,
this is a guy.
No.
This is your brother Bill Oliver type, right? This is somebody who is going to be in the background. He's going to be a staunch assistant, but now he's being put in a role where he's going to be perhaps out in the spotlight and maybe a bit uncomfortable at first. And he's going to do this in a low pressure situation called the college football playoff. There's your coaching debut. Yeah. You are in the college football playoff. You're not starting up against Weber State. That's not happening. You're not starting off against Alcorn. You're debuting against heavy hitters. So good luck, Pete, man. Good luck.
I'd also like to point out that he used to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and then he was the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss. And it's not because he did such a great fucking job at Alabama.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I will give him this. That's late Saban. That's late Saban, where maybe the recruiting isn't quite the one-to-one fit at positions where it once was. So I'm gonna give him a little latitude on that. And he did a pretty good job at Ole Miss. But if you were trying to take somebody off that staff, that is not pick one.
All right. Now, this leads us to a good little transition here because
Mhm.
we're going to. I feel like all we can say with Lane, honestly, at LSU is we're going to see they're going to be the primary story in college football. And I will give them this. Every other coach in the country is boring, and Lane is not. Like, I appreciate having somebody to viscerally despise in the way that I realize that I despise this man with whom I've only spoken one time. But it is going to make things better. The thing is, I kind of like LSU is I got a lot of friends that are around LSU. And I don't know how I feel about this. I sent Ryan Clark a text and said, I always hate it when a team I root for, brings on a clown. And we talked about it. I sent that to Marcus Spears, and I've got no reply.
Yeah.
I gotta run this by Van, see what he thinks.
No, he's already in. He's already thought that's it.
You know why he's in? Because there's no other option but to be in. No
No.
matter who it is, no matter what it is. Once it happens, you got no choice but to be in. And so they are going to be in until they aren't in.
Yeah. Oh, listen, everyone has to do this time of year. LSU, by the way, would have been in anyway. If we had taken Attila the Hun and we had made him head coach at LSU. Oh man, I'm all about the Magyar Empire. That's right. Down with the Hun. I'm good with it. Yeah. If it had been Dracula, they would have been thrilled. They would have been like, that's why we play at night.
Yes.
That's why we play at night.
Yes.
Vampires for life. LSU's just gonna be in no matter what Lane Kiffin does. Like, to the point that man could shoot somebody. He could shoot somebody, and they'd be like, hey, we've all been there. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Maybe you have. I have not. It does not matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much creep shit that comes out from Ole Miss about Lane Kiffin there. It doesn't matter how much I don't know if you've seen the hot yoga instructors of the world are uniting against Lane Kiffin for his boorish behavior in classes at Ole Miss. He was an aficionado of hot yoga. And on TikTok, hot yoga instructors from Ole Miss, from the particular studio he went to, was like, yeah, he farted in class and blamed it on a girl. He'd sit there and he wouldn't follow directions. He was just doing bicep curls while we were all in child's pose. Like, he was apparently just going in and freestyling. Like, Lane Kiffin just
after all this stuff we heard about him in the yoga, he wasn't actually doing yoga. He was just going to the yoga studio, and we all know what that means.
I think he started with it, and then he was like, let me freestyle on this. And they were not appreciative of that.
I just want to point out that kind of stuff is what got Ed Ogeron fired, not the losing.
Which one day we will have a long investigative series on the alleged tales of Ed Ogeron hitting on people. I do not think they were true. I don't think they were true at all.
I've come around with you on this one. That when he saw the woman at the gas station and asked where she worked out, and she was like, I'm married, and he's like, what's the point? I have come around. I think he might have wanted to work out.
I mean, first of all, I don't think that entire story is true. Second, he really might have wanted to work out if that story is true. Have you seen Ed? Ed is in his 60s, and he looks like he could beat your ass. So the man
would have loved to. That's the other part.
He would have been like, good form. Good job. Good job. Anybody ever told you you're a natural lifter? Like that's what he would do, right? And then maybe a relationship blossoms from there. And by the way, free and clear at that point. None of this was off the books.
Right.
Because Ed, at that point, his divorce was clear.
Yes.
That was done. Ed was a single man. Right?
I did love that. Was my favorite part of this story is all these married men who do all this dirt and everybody finds a way to let it slide because they need to keep it low. Ogeron's problem was that there was no reason to keep it low. Therefore, I mean, oh my God, Ed bringing the kids to practice. That was never gonna stop being the move. That's amazing.
And there's also this, and this is gonna happen with various coaches who are under pressures, that all of a sudden we become privy to their private lives. And there's a lot of things that I can say about you. I can be like, okay, I don't think that's necessarily cool, or that's weird, or man, that seems like too many women to date at once. Your scheduling must be incredible, especially given the 60 to 70 hour weeks that you're working. I don't see it being very rewarding for anyone. However, if it's not in the contract, it's not breaking a law, then all we can do is laugh. That's really all we can do. And I will return to this. If Ole Miss does not play, at least the instrumental version of area codes or of Houdini's I'm a Hoe, okay? Or some other
Ludicrous.
variation.
It's ludicrous. Oh, that's the one that's coming down. They gonna play every single one of them. I don't
Yeah.
even know if they're allowed to play rap at the Mississippi Stadium, but if they haven't before, they will be soon. He also gets to make a run by Tennessee this year. It is like all the scoring lane lovers. They're
Mhm.
all there. Why don't they schedule an exhibition game against the Raiders?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it because now everybody is reminded that Al Davis, though Al Davis did have some ideas that maybe weren't necessarily practical, the 40-yard pass downfield, not a base play,
Yes.
not a first down play every first down. Al was right about some things. And that's this, that when you fire Lane Kiffin, he does it in a manner where you're just going to want to take out a PowerPoint, where you're going to want to crack out an overhead projector. You're going to want to get vintage with it in terms of how he leaves.
Yeah, he hated that man. Oh my God, that's just it.
To the-
Never stops being amazing. And by the way, when he got the job at Tennessee, he wrote them a letter to
Yeah.
tell them that this man would leave you with shame and dishonor. And what do you know?
By the way, like how mad? Like that is anger when an old man's going to crack out a letter, right? Like because we both have fathers who are seniors. If you got a letter from your dad, would you open it?
I'd be
I
terrified.
might wait till he died.
Yeah.
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 I'd be like, I'll open this after you're dead. I don't want to know what's in it. This could be
board.
bad.
It's on the board. By the way, Spencer, I got to tell you, at our age, all of our parents are seniors. Either they were seniors or they were freshmen. You were born. We're just at that. We're at that place now. I have this though. This is a coaching thing that I've seen, and I don't know that much about it, but I still find it interesting. Two guys are about to be coaching at much different schools than they used to be. Well, at least one of them. Pat Fitzgerald, who used to coach at Northwestern, and apparently he is on some level been absolved of them running dick gauntlets at training camp at Northwestern, and he is not responsible for all the dick rubbing that they were doing. I if you say so. But he is now going to go to Michigan State, and also the head coach at BYU, Sitake. I don't really know anything about him, but apparently he is the focus of the Penn State search, and I am very curious about the possibility that these two guys now go to jobs where they can and have to recruit everybody. After before, really only talking to a subset of people that spoke a certain language. Oh, no. Like, it's got to be such a relief for Sitake. Like, for Fitzgerald, it's no longer, man, I got to see if they're going to get the grades. For Sitake, it's like, I no longer have to explain to them that the best part about being an athlete is not on the board here.
Yeah. So, one, dick gauntlets were essential to the greatness of Northwestern football. Pat Fitzgerald knew that, and that's why he did them. And that's why Michigan State is just fine with it. By the way, Michigan State, not exactly the place where maybe we want to hire a coach who created a toxic culture. But what do I know? I'm not paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to run an athletic department. I'm sure there's some arcane knowledge that I'm not privileged to, where maybe we shouldn't hire that guy. Was it overblown? I don't know what we don't overblow. Was it bad? It was bad. You don't want people doing that in your football program. Now Michigan State's got to hire this guy who is, let's rewind, a retread. A good football coach, but this is a retread.
Yes.
You're trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. It's a much different environment. And by the way, who says he's going to be better with players with lower academic standards? Everyone's a niche. Everyone is somebody who's successful at one place with very specific conditions. The rare individual is somebody who is successful at a number of different places under different conditions, right?
Steve Spurrier, for example.
Or Bob Chesney, the guy that UCLA just hired, right? There's a lot of people getting each other's jobs that's happening right now. It's fascinating. John Summerall was custom cut agent pitching him as the next Pat Dye, a program, a coach, a guy in bike shorts with a whistle, right? A dude, a killer, a defensive guy, born to run the ball and do great things. And, in the old SEC, he'd be this like 8-4 guy who had a job for 15 years. And people were like, I think he has a good family and he's a good man, right? Perfect Auburn casting. Where does he go? Florida. He goes to Florida, the place that wanted Lane Kiffin at first, the place that employed Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer and any other number of mercenaries who just wanted to kill. Where did the guy who could have gone to Florida go? Alex Golish, right? Offense first, already coaching in the state of Florida. He went to Auburn, who now Auburn fans are like, we like the Russian guy, right? We like it. That's Alexei Golish, by the way, born in Russia and came to the United States at the age of 4. Is that going to keep Auburn fans from just like blatantly putting tigers in old Soviet propaganda and posting them on the internet? No, they're already doing it. It's already happening, man. Chesney goes to UCLA. Chesney has won, by the way, at the ECAC's finest, right? Finest private Catholic institutions. Before that, Assumption. Yeah, like Bob, he coached at someplace before that. The name is escaping me, that has like a saint in it. Like he was coaching at places where I know he did the laundry, right? He has 3 stops before he has 3 stops, all before he gets there. James Madison, which by the way, we're talking about like, he succeeded at a big program, James Madison. Okay, it's still James Madison. I know It's the largest public university in Virginia, okay, by enrollment. And you know what that means, right? Yes. But like, yeah, it's the biggest one by enrollment. You go, the former commuter school that's got a glow up, right? And that happens to have a superb football program that's managed very well. That guy could have taken the Penn State job. I think that's like, if you look at the pattern, he should have gone there. You go, okay, regional, sort of in the area, definitely like the workaday, blue collar type guy who's on the come up. He goes to UCLA, which is a complete wild card of a hire. And then Kalani Sitake, who could have gone to UCLA as a West Coast recruiter, somebody with roots there, he might be going to Penn State. He might already be at Penn State by the time anyone hears this, Bo. And so there's a lot of very weird default choices going to the second step and going to the place where they were listed as either the primary or secondary. It's a very weird market, active and weird.
BYU, to me, sneaky good job that I would be reluctant to leave, because if they got anything over there, it's money. They got money, and they have a conference in which they may be the best job in the Big 12. When you really stop and think about it, you can make an argument that they are.
You have a built-in recruiting pitch.
Yes.
Right? If the money doesn't do it, maybe God will.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe culture will. You don't have to function as a Mormon as an outsider, right? Not that doesn't happen every day. Not that Mormons aren't completely fluent, moving from one, sphere of their life to another and balancing their faith against a public role. Sorry, Mormons, if you're listening to this. But you have a built-in recruiting pitch where it's easy. It's easy. You're just going to the place where everyone does this already.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, they're all a little older. If you look at those guys, they've always hit with the violence of people who got up with the kids.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Those are grown men who they're playing football to get away.
That's less true than it used to be, but there's still people there who are like, yeah, I got to play this game. And then the wife and I are going to Costco tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
That's a concern. That's a legitimate concern.
We need to put together a list of those programs whose secret sauce is we old. Kansas State, we old. Like we get these boys need this in a different way.
Kansas State had guys who were like, so I was roughnecking. And that's good money. That's good money. But, I'll tell you, it's a hard life. It's a hard life out there. It's lonely, too. It's lonely. So I thought I'd come back to football because, Laramie wasn't being good to me. Like, that is very, very real. And, I think you could play with a rage that you can only get if you have, 5 hours sleep and 2 kids. That's what BYU hits with. It's a great gig. By the way, can we just go ahead and highlight that the Big 12, I know we're going to make fun of the ACC a little bit inevitably because the ACC has a title game where the 2 best teams may not be in it. Virginia plays Duke because of conference records and how things line up in that conference, because it is a bucket of crabs. And everyone points and laughs and goes, who's going to watch that on TV? BYU plays Texas Tech for the Big 12 championship. This used to be Texas playing some other relatively large market team, right? And the Big 12 has morphed into this mutant where we have Lubbock v. Provo. It's way, way less comfortable when I say it that way. BYU, yes. Texas Tech sounds all right. If I'm like Provo versus Lubbock, the 2 metropolises.
All right, coming up next week, I'm going to talk about the actual football of the weekend. There was once upon a time this is a highly anticipated weekend, and now we just talk about Lane Kiffin. All right, Spencer, it is championship game weekend, and a big discussion in the Lane Kiffin saga is the calendar, the calendar, the calendar. It's the calendar's fault that this guy doesn't know how to act like an adult, right? It's the calendar's fault that unfortunately you had to make a tough decision, a one or the other, and somehow you thought that you could get away with both, and then you're trying to piss on our head after you get to this other part. But we have actual factual football, and I do want to point out as we talk about the calendar, it does stink. In the way that everything runs, in the way the playoff is now set up, this feels very anticlimactic and in some ways confusing as to what it is that you're supposed to do with a team that loses in a conference championship game, which is to say, what's going to happen to Alabama and Kalen DeBoer if they lose this game to Georgia that in theory should not knock them out of the playoff if they lose, but probably will?
Probably will. I would win this game if I were him because Alabama does not like it when you lose SEC title games. They do not like it when you lose at all. Kalen DeBoer has been an interesting piece in all of this because Kalen DeBoer has been at least put as a possibility at all of the following places: USC, Penn State, school to be named later after we vacate Coach X. He's been this sort of question mark. And no one asked him about any of this because we just assume Alabama's that volatile. We just assume they're going to throw him out. And no one's questioned it. I say this with people like in this industry who when talking about whether coaches are going to move or whether USC is going to get rid of Lincoln or Texas Tech's going to fire Joey McGuire if he, trails for a single quarter. There's a lot of that. But everyone takes as a given that Alabama's volatile. And I don't know if, at least on DeBoer's end, that that's true. Because, by all reports, he's pretty happy there. Because you know who else has the keys? Kalen DeBoer. Because they have to trust him at this point. Alabama's too big a product, and everything's riding on his good decision-making. And they've let him have whatever he wants. Quietly, he's got the Lane Kiffin deal. Whatever you need, whatever you want, we're going to give it to you. And we won't have to be freaks about it like those guys in Baton Rouge, right? So I think that's maybe now, I know it'd be fun if we could just throw Alabama into this mix. But right now, the messiest program is LSU. That's because they have Lane Kiffin as their coach, Jeff Landry as their governor, and because Le Bon Temps continue to roule. Like, it's just a big festive thing. Alabama, still pretty businesslike at this point. I know it would be fun if we could get them riled up. I know it'd be fun if they were in chaos. I think they're probably a little more in order than we might think they are.
Okay, so I do not make the assumption that with a loss or whatever that Alabama is going to toss DeBoer out, right?
Yeah.
I operate on the assumption that he'll jump ship because, again, I've seen this happen several times. It is Alabama did not want Franchione to leave. He just looked around and was like, well, first of all, you guys lied to me. But he just looked around and was like, oh, hell no. Anytime somebody's like, yeah, College Station, here I come. That
what?
Yeah, that right there, not what's up. Ray Perkins, he jumped ship. There's another one I just can't remember right now. But that is always Nick Saban was about to jump ship. We cannot forget that the Texas job was right there. And if they had just done it right, he would have jumped ship on this one. The look on DeBoer's face when they scored that touchdown at the fourth quarter to take the lead of utter relief. Just like, oh my God, thank you. Shit, man. I did not want to have to deal with this again. That's why if USC were to come open and his old boss is running the search at USC, I'm like, oh yeah, he gonna take that one. But I don't know what happens if you lose this game. I mean, he's had decent success against Georgia. There's some interesting kind of circles in this conference. Mike Elko now can't beat Steve Sarkisian, but Steve Sarkisian apparently can't beat Kirby Smart. But Kirby Smart, not so great when it comes to playing against Alabama. It just kind of goes in this rotation. But if Alabama loses this one, does a 3-loss Alabama make this playoff? My guess is no.
I think it depends on how they lose. This is one of those ones where I think if the committee's looking at it and they want to put Alabama in, they will if it's close. And I think this will be a close game. And I don't think that has a lot to do with Alabama. I think that's on Georgia. I think Georgia just plays tight games this year. They don't have an ability to sort of take big 21-point chunks out of people on offense. And defensively, they're very good, but they also don't do that thing where, whoops, 3 interceptions in a quarter. You're now losing by 17 points. They don't do that. This is more of an Anaconda type team. This is, by the way, Kirby Smart couldn't be happier. This is ideal Kirby Smart football. 16-9. How did we win? Toughness. That's how we won. We won with toughness. That's it. Did you win with brains? No. We left our brains in the locker room, right? I got Mike Bobo calling plays. No one's going to be happy.
Me and Ryan were talking before the show about how Lane Kiffin is 100% not my kind of guy as human, but as football coach, Kirby Smart is 100% not your kind of guy in any form or fashion whatsoever. He is a better version of Will Muschamp, who was not just not your kind of guy, he was also your team's coach.
Yeah, I'm not okay. As I've aged, I respect the guy who thinks that football should be won by a field goal in the fourth quarter. I do. I also hate it for the same reason that I hate clearing my bills by $1. Right? I don't like it. I like big margins. I want to feel safe. Give me a coach that feels safe, right? And they're like, hey, you know what? Our toughness is going to get us through this. And I'm like, a 38-point lead will get you through this.
You're like me. I don't want a great fourth quarter team. I want a great third quarter team.
Third quarter team. I want you to foreclose on them, okay? Like, I respect what Ohio State's doing by playing as little football as possible to get to the playoff. That's the smartest thing. Could you guys just hang 50 on somebody? Hang 50. I know you could, but you don't want to because you go, well, we can burn the clock. We can just get out of here. It's fine. Cool. It's a job to you. Do you know what make me feel better as a fan? Flames. Like, Curtis LeMay, the head of the Strategic Air Command, was once asked why he needed 10 times as many bombs to destroy a target as was necessary. Because in the words of the interrogator, the questioner said, why do you need to reduce everything? What it's already done. You've already reduced everything to cinders, right? It's all ashes. And he goes, yeah, but I want to watch the ashes dance. And it's like, that's the kind of psychopath I want as a head coach. Dan Lanning, when Dan Lanning gets that chance, that's what he does. He's like, hey, you know what's better than a 14-point lead? A 21-point lead. You know what's better than a 21-point lead? 28-point lead. So I respect it, Kirby. I do get it. I really love that emphasis on the process and on dominating people every down. You know what else I like? I like annihilation. I like watching a team do that because I'm nervous. I'd really prefer to be up by 40.
All right. I want to point out something. Speaking of teams that are by 40, you talk about this with Ohio State, and they are playing Indiana this week. So one of the arguments that anti-playoff people, and to be clear, I have always been an anti-playoff person, and the actual existence of the playoff has only made me more resolute and clearer than ever that I was right in the first place. One of the arguments was that these regular season games are just not going to hit like they used to. And I've heard people make the spin, but no, look, the ratings are up, and all of this stuff. Fine. I'm just telling you this week that there's a 1 versus 2 matchup in the Big Ten championship game, and it is the least anticipated 1 versus 2 matchup that I think we have ever had. In part because of having this playoff that's just going to run next week. And I think, now granted, these teams, Michigan and Indy, fucking Anna, but these teams haven't really played much of anybody. Ohio State had the big win against Texas to start the season. Since then, no win to truly speak of. Indiana has, honestly, what might be the best win anybody has this year, that win at Oregon by 10 points. I do want to point this out, though. Indiana has given up 24 to Penn State and 20 to Oregon, and that's the most points they've given up all year long. Ohio State has not given up more than 16 points this year. These two teams have been annihilating people. Like Ohio State, the closest they had to the scare was Texas. Indiana had the one against Penn State. But these two teams have been waxing people, but it's in part because of the calendar, because they're waxing people because all they play against is floors. That's it.
So the joke in the Big Ten is that everybody's a flavor of Purdue, right? Wisconsin, that's Dairy Purdue, right?
Yes.
That's Cal Purdue. Illinois, that's Science Purdue, which I know. Sorry, Purdue. You're rocket science Purdue, not general science Purdue. even Penn State became ice cream Purdue this year. Like they are all different variations of Purdue. It's one of the reasons we're not excited about this one too is because of the calendar. We've talked about the calendar. The calendar, nothing in this sport is built for the calendar. Nothing in this sport makes sense because of the calendar. It's like 90 different people planned it without looking at to see what overlapped. By the way, did you know that we're I believe 2 days at this point shy of an early signing day, which is all in the
The
middle of
worst
this?
idea they ever had, by the way.
Dumb, like
To me, that's
straight
the biggest
stupid.
one. That's the biggest thing that's messed up the calendars. That's the one that's getting people fired in September.
Yeah. It accelerated all of this. Like it made everything much less stable. There's no coaches and their hiring period can't coordinate with recruits and their signing period, which can't coordinate with the schedule, which by the way, the Big Ten schedule sucks this year, but that's not necessarily the Big Ten's fault. It's not, it's just the quality of teams. Right now, the Big Ten, by having so many teams, that bottom of the Big Ten, the bottom 5 or 6 teams, it's as bad as you'll see in any conference, maybe worse, just because one, conference is huge. You're going to have more bad teams and more good teams. But at the top, it's so stratified. Ohio State will beat Indiana. I feel real confident saying that. If they do lose to Indiana, then that should go down as one of the great upsets in college football history. I know Indiana's been great this year, and they were great last year. And Kurt Cignetti has done a remarkable job there. One that I think is like for the books. There is nobody who, in my mind, has engineered a bigger turnaround. Like we're now putting this in the category of Bill Snyder, Barry Alvarez, people who have gone in and take programs that are historical doormats and turned them into mean top tier programs. That said, if they do upset them, you're going to have to put another superlative next to Kurt Cignetti's name, because in my mind, that would be the biggest upset in a championship game in ever, years. Like, because this Ohio State team is that far ahead. Their defense alone is one of the best teams in the nation. I just mean their defense, right? If you put them on the field and punted on offense, I think every game would probably be 3-0, and it would be for Ohio State. So I am looking forward to it, but I understand why other people aren't, because the Big Ten has been kind of ass, right? Top to bottom. It's very stratified. All of the qualities at the top in like 2 teams. And they've had the most, like Penn State really undermined their national standing by utterly collapsing down the stretch. They're 6 and they're going to probably finish 6-6. I think they finished 6-6. Nobody wants to see that in a bowl game because they were, and I remind everybody, a preseason top 5. The preseason top 5 this year, by the way, as inaccurate as it has ever been, thanks to Penn State and Clemson and Texas, all disappointing. I know Texas at 9-3 is disappointing, but look where they were in the preseason AP top 25.
Number one.
One.
This is college football is in a dangerous place, though, where the NBA had this problem, and I think still has this problem to a degree, which is all the personnel stuff and the kind of gossipy stuff started to take precedence over the actual play. Like, for example, right now in the NBA, I don't know if you know this. I want to make sure I get this number exact right. But the Oklahoma City Thunder is 20-1. They could win 75 games this year, right? They are super young. They have a top 2 player in the NBA. They went 20-1, by the way, with their second best player not being on the team. All of this. I don't know what it takes for that to register and really break through, right? But if I told you there was some big trade that was going on or something like that, oh man, everybody would be all over that, and that could get the discussion. In college football right now, again, we're coming into this week, and it's really all about Lane Kiffin. And I don't know if there's anything that could happen this weekend that would be more interesting to people than Lane Kiffin. And I think that's in part because the conferences have gotten so big, all these games that get played, we don't feel like we really know who is and is not good. Just because you don't have the kind of the iron versus iron that you typically had throughout a season. Because what do you know? Remember when people were like, why do we even have divisions in conferences? That doesn't make any sense. No, iteration is important. Consistency and those things are important. They help us gather information. They help build rivalries. They help all these things. And now it's a conference championship weekend that doesn't feel like it matters that much.
Yeah, and you brought up the NBA. I think it feels a lot like boxing, where we have obvious heavyweights. And I mean old school boxing. I don't mean current. I mean like era of the heavyweights, late 70s, 80s into the 90s, where you're not going to get a whole lot of actual marquee matchups. You're going to get a lot of tomato cans and managing that record, right? If somebody is 40-1 with one loss, then of that 40, you're going to see 35 guys they pulled off the street take a beating for cash. And that's what happens when you make big conferences. When you have big conferences and you try to rotate the schedules and have everyone play everybody, then you do thin down the testing metal of that conference. You thin down the competitive nature of that conference. It's inevitable. And like the Big Ten, I think, is suffering from this simply because they are the biggest conference. And I mean that in terms of money, and I mean that in terms of geographic spread, and in terms of actual number of members. Like, they are the biggest right now. And the bottom is so very bad and weak, and the middle's not great either. That when we ask how good is Ohio State, you go, okay, on paper, this is one of the best college football teams I've ever seen. They have not sweat this year. They have barely put forth effort, and they have managed to wipe everyone on their schedule in an economical fashion, like clinical. That's why, like, I think we're sleeping on this Indiana matchup, because if they are competitive, first of all, congratulations to Indiana, because no one else has really been that competitive with Ohio State. In addition to that, if they manage to upset them, it's going to be a reversal of everything that I think is supposed to happen in the Big Ten by design. Like, Ohio State's supposed to come out of this thing. And if it's not Ohio State, it's Michigan. And these were our bell cows, and these are the ones that drive ratings, right? Not to look at this too cynically from a business point, but I'm going to do it. The Big Ten's been all about business. I'm just returning the favor, right? This is the conference that has embraced the spreadsheet more than any single conference. And by the way, people go, well, that's SEC homerism. No, we can't read spreadsheets. We're not great at that. The SEC has been behind in terms of thinking about this, okay? They're just slower. They're slower, and they haven't been as reactive, and they've made a bet on a different business model. And I don't think it's going to wear out. I think the Big Ten wins as far as anything can be considered victory in this. But the point is, this matchup has so much on the line in terms of national branding. It would also be very Ryan Day to lose a game at the end of the season that he shouldn't lose and win the national title anyway, right? Lose the Big Ten championship in an upset, go on and destroy people in the playoff, which was the plan all along. Like, I think they've been building to this. The playoff is the priority. So I don't know, Kurt, catch them sleeping, man.
I would also like to take this moment to make the point that maybe, just maybe, Lane should have looked at Kurt Signetti, who looked at this and was like, nah, how about I just take all this money to stay right here where I'm a god, as opposed to I'm going to go jump in some hot grease. Why? Because that'll impress people.
Hey, listen, some of us have ADHD, okay? Lane was in Ole Miss for 6 years. Which I'm gonna convert that to normal people years. That's like 200 years anywhere else.
Okay, that's fair.
That's 200 years. Okay, we're talking about a grown man who posts on Instagram stories like he is a 23-year-old lady. Okay, and by that I mean a lot of inspo, right? A lot of like, you know what, you do what you need to do for your heart. If someone's in there, you need to let them go. You need to let them go and see if they come back. Like, I've never seen a grown man post like that. And this isn't me going, well, there's female posting. No, I'm not doing that.
I just haven't seen it.
Well, no, I just haven't seen it. Okay. I've never seen anybody post. He posts like I think my nieces should post. My nieces don't post like that, but he posts like stuff that I'm like, I've never seen a coach do this in my life. And he's 50. All right. He's slightly older than I am. Like, that's unreal.
What a time. What a sport. What a world.
Time, man.
What a world.
Listen, greatest American sport. We just spent this entire time talking about human resources. Even our human resources, Bo, is more interesting than any other sport.
Is.
And that's the thing everybody hates, right? When HR calls, leave the building. But when college football HR calls and wants to tell some stories, have a seat.
Doc, here's where college sports generally are like the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Grenada last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looked kind of like Hawaii, shorter flight, gave it a run. And they have a bit of an interesting political history in Grenada. And
you're not the first American
to
land there.
Yeah, but it's cool. I got out on my own, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there, and I don't want to get into all the details of the history because it'll take a little bit too long. But I was thinking about something that involved a bloodless coup and then one that involved a more violent coup. But anyway, Grenada right now has 120,000 people. Okay.
Right.
that is a small town. Small town is going too far, but it is a very, very, very small city, right? Like you can go through the list of cities that have 120,000 people, and you can see who those places are. Now, take a moment. I don't know anything about who runs Grenada or anything else, so I'm just operating hypothetically. So take a town that has 120,000 people, and imagine who the mayor is of a place that has 120,000 people, and you can imagine who the mayor is of a place that has 1,000,000 people. Okay, the mayor of a place that has 120,000 people is not. I mean, New York elected Eric Adams. You get the point that I'm making here, right? It could be anybody that could be the mayor of a place that has 120,000 people. Except that guy isn't a mayor. That guy or woman is a president, a prime minister. And you know what comes with being a president or a prime minister? You get your very own army. Okay. So you take whatever little town it is that you have that has 120,000 people, and imagine that you let the person in charge of that have a whole ass army to himself. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that in the context of college sports. Okay. There's big, there's small, there's all these things. But in the end, there's a lot of people who have armies that should not be allowed to have an army, but something that they have, that's cool. That means you get to have an army. That means you get to have all kinds of things that a person who's actually operating on the scale of that, no one man should have all that power. That's all I'm saying. That's college sports.
That is, hey, I'm going to put it this way. Lane just took a job where he gets his own tiger.
Yes.
He gets a tiger. That's Scarface.
Yes.
When you become LSU's coach, there's a tiger, and it's in your house.
Hold on. Right. There's a tiger, and a tiger that they also got because the governor decided that they needed a different tiger, right?
Right. Also, can we discuss this? Lane's probably going to post like the tiger is his, because we, in the course of all this conversation, did not get to. Lane might not have even had a dog. Lane had a dog, and he posted from a social account for that dog, Juice Kiffin, and now the dog's still in Oxford. You never leave a man behind, Lane. Never leave a man behind.
He told everybody to get on that plane, and the dog didn't think it was about him.
He might have had, for real, I can't believe I'm saying this. We might have had a football coach who had a Labrador Retriever for PR purposes. We might have had a stunt dog, right? A PR dog. That is now, by the way, safe in Oxford. But yeah, by the way, Ole Miss stripped the verified badge from the Juice Kiffin account when Lane Kiffin took that. So you want to talk about petty? You no longer have the blue check, dog.
That's beef over there. They ain't paying no more money for that. Spencer Hall, check him out. Channel 6 and various other places talking college football. My man, I greatly appreciate you.
No, anytime.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. 4 times, excuse me. We now do it 4 times. Ryan Brumley handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.